Hey there, guys. Welcome again to today's episode where we are joined once more with the amazing Afif Hadi, who has joined us to give us a bit more insight into how to network. So this is a really, really cool episode, something that I've actually taken a lot from as well. So I thank him for that. But before we get into it, let's just do the reintroduction to Afif, who was on the last episode, just to give a bit more of a background as to who he is. And then we'll just dive into the episode. So, Afif, over to you, my friend.
Yeah, sure. So I'm a Thief Hadi. I'm a prospective dentist, an incoming dental student at KCL from September this year.
Amazing stuff, amazing stuff. So he's got his whole dental journey ahead of him. It's really exciting stuff, and we will hopefully be following that as he goes along. But in the meantime, one of the biggest things that people can do with their downtime, and just maybe not even in dentistry for now, but like in my case, I'm on my summer break. There's nothing really dentistry related for me to do, but actually, Afif is one of the guys that said to me, "Do you know what? Maximize your time by networking." So let's ask him why is networking so important? Why is it something that we can do during our downtime? And tell us a bit more about the importance of networking in general.
I truly believe that networking is one of the primary distinguishers in success, right? I think it plays a big role in how much money you make, how well respected you are, and how well known you are in any industry and any part of the industry you're in. Now, just to give you an example for dentistry, how can it be used in dentistry? Or, for example, if you want to go down the research route, knowing the right researchers can allow you to collaborate more, and it can allow you to form partnerships that can help you both out. As well as this, if you want to go down the business route, it can help you form business partners and connections and collaborations and strategic partnerships that can help you out as well. If you want to be a dentist, having a good network can allow you, for example, in the clinical side of things, right? If you're stuck on a case, having a good network of clinicians around you can allow you to get a second opinion or advice from someone who's many years more experienced. So there's just some ways you can help a dentist, but I truly believe that networking is massively important for any industry.
Right, and I agree with you. I mean, I think we had a discussion once offline, and I explained that in my previous career, networking was kind of like your bread and butter. You had to network to get in
Mhm.
touch with the right businesses around you. If you're doing any form of sales or buying, it's imperative to ensure that you are well connected. But I think it's overlooked in dentistry, especially in maybe the more older, greater folk out there that are just used to kind of finding it the old school way, right? Which is just deal with your patients that you got in your local area, and that was pretty much it. But now we're seeing, I guess, with the growth of social media and just the way that the newer folk are coming out with their mindset, it's very
Mhm.
much a case of collaborations, and everybody wants to collaborate with someone. And there is a major importance in collaborating and learning off of people, because they might know something very well that you don't, and vice versa. But together, you just build a very strong network, and actually a very strong product as well for people out there. So I think network is essential for us to use and to utilize. But then when we
Mhm.
talk about how to actually network, where would we go to network, and how would you say is the best way to actually approach networking?
Yeah, great question. I think, especially being young, I'm 18, right? So many people that are quite young don't really give much importance to networking. However, I think that's a wrong way to look at things. I think it's important at any age, and actually, the earlier you start, the better. So my first advice would be to go into life or go into what you do with the mindset of meeting new people and learning from them, right? Now, how do you go about doing that? Well, in the dental industry, there's a few things you can do. One great thing you can do is attend in-person events and conferences. That has two benefits. First of all, you learn from the keynote speakers. You can understand what they're saying and listen into the speeches. But also, you can meet like-minded professionals and people in the industry around you that are in the audience, for example, and get to know them. So a great thing is go to conferences or dental events. As well as this, it's great to do something online. So you've got collaboration pods and you've got social media groups and whatnot in the form of WhatsApp channels, and they can be very useful as well, is especially, for example, if you're applying to industry, have group chats with lots of applicants, offer holders, and they can be great ways to meet new people around you about your age. Lastly, I'd say with the advent of social media and the rise of the connectivity between everyone, right? Another really good resource is LinkedIn, and that's something you can also use as well.
Perfect. So LinkedIn, a lot of people know it, a lot of people have heard of it, but
Hmm.
nobody knows how to use it. There's a lot of people out there that will be like, I don't know how to use it. There's You either know LinkedIn or you don't know LinkedIn. I don't feel like there's much of a middle ground. And a lot of people will have a LinkedIn account, and I myself probably done this many times as well. but it just exists. It's just kind of
Mhm.
there for the sake of being there, right?
Yep.
So, what would be kind of your tips and tricks to maximize your utilization of LinkedIn and to ensure you're doing the best in terms of presenting yourself and networking with the right people?
Yeah, sure. So you mentioned there briefly how everyone seems to have heard of LinkedIn, and most people have this idea or there's a stigma around it that it's just a bunch of corporate successful people
Yeah.
bragging about their achievements and accolades, right? Well, on the surface, especially if you look at some industries like banking and whatnot, that is the general sentiment or vibe that you get. However, I still think there's lots of meaningful conversations to be had, and it's often, like you said, overlooked.
Mm,
First, there's a few reasons, why LinkedIn is better than other platforms and why it has, such an advantage. First and foremost, there's far fewer bots on LinkedIn, right? You don't really have any people pretending on there because to build a profile, you have to put your entire achievements, your accolades, you have to have a network and whatnot as well. You have to connect with people, and it's really hard to fake or build like a bot of sorts. So
yeah.
it's first of all far more authentic in that regard. Secondly, anyone who's on LinkedIn is kind of serious at least about what they want to do because they went out of the way, like you said, to make an account, to set it up and whatnot as well. So just by putting an account on there, you already have the people that are on there are of a favorable demographic. They're like-minded. They want to meet new people and get out there. So first and foremost, you've got to make an account, of course. Secondly, I think a very overlooked thing about LinkedIn is posting, right? So there
Mm.
are about 1 billion profiles on LinkedIn, and less than 1% of those post every single week. So just
Ah,
by putting any content out there, it's far easier to get impressions compared to Instagram or TikTok and whatnot and get your eyes in front of the industry, for example. Like so far, I've done about 10, 15 posts and I've been able to get about 150, 160,000 impressions, right? Now, off
ah,
the cuff, as an 18-year-old talking about his life, that's not really possible on any other platform that I've come across at the very least. So, what I would say is that it's oftentimes overlooked in terms of the fact that many people don't use it. And by consequence, by putting yourself out there, you can separate yourself a level above everyone else.
of
Now,
course,
how
yeah.
do you go about networking, right? So, of course, posting is one tenet of it, but also you want to really get into one-to-one deep conversations that can be very valuable to you, and you can't unfortunately.
I'm so sorry to cut you off there, right? Because you're about to go into a very, very important point. But one
Yeah,
thing you did mention there was posting, right? Just before we get onto kind of the one-to-one side of things, which I'm actually desperate to hear myself.
yeah, yeah.
What should people post, right? Because this is a bit of a weird zone, right? Because there's a lot of people on there that have kind of tried to make this the new Facebook at times, and just they're posting their cat, for example. I've seen that. I've seen people posting like their household domestics or what they're doing on the weekend, etc. Is there almost an unwritten law, or is there anything in your experience that works and doesn't work on
Yeah.
LinkedIn that maybe we should be aware of? Because there's probably going to be a lot of people out there that are listening that are thinking, I want to use LinkedIn, but I really don't know what to post. So give us
Yeah.
some advice there before we step into the one-to-one speaking.
100%, 100%. So posting, like I said, is very important. How do you do it? Great question. Most people, I think the biggest stumbling block or the biggest fear you have to overcome is that first post, right? First of all, I would say that any post is better than not posting at all because at the very least it gets you out there. Okay, there are certain things you have to do and certain ways you got to put yourself across so that you don't appear to be a robot or an egotistical maniac, right? Now, I would say some big no-nos are talking about like deeply personal stuff, right? Unless there's genuine value from there. So, for
Right.
example, like you say, posting about your animals or posting about your pets, I might not do as well because it's exceptionally personal. But then again, I would say some people unfortunately use it just to post their accolades and just to post their achievements. That's also a bad thing to do because otherwise it comes across as you just flexing the whole time, right?
Right.
So a good middle ground I found is building what I call a personal brand. What is that? Now that's essentially putting yourself out there in a way that is specific to you, but also benefits other people. Now, what does that mean? Well, that means, for example, posting about things you've done or things you've learned without making it just a list of achievements, but rather lessons you've learned. So a prime
Right.
example is okay. After my A levels, I did a post about the amount of work that I did. Okay, the amount of books that I had to read and the amount of past papers that I filled out. At first glance, that might seem like just a bit of a flex, right? But what that showed underneath, the what comes across at first glance is the way I study, for example, the way I learned, to what I did, the techniques I used, and that can be beneficial to all the thousands of people that see the post, right?
Of
So,
course, yeah.
although at first glance it seems like a bit of a flex of sorts, in reality, the end goal should always be to provide value, and that's what I think it comes down to: providing value in a bespoke way that is specific to you. That is all
Mhm.
personal branding is if you want to do well. Now, value could mean, for example, if you play cricket, right? You can talk about cricket games or cricket lessons you've learned and apply them to the world of business or apply them to the world of being a clinician. It's all
Right,
about using transferable skills that you know or experiences that you've had and the reflections of lessons you've learned and telling those to the masses. That's what I think it comes
right.
down to in the
I'm with
posts.
you. I'm with you. So it's about kind of, as you said, translating experiences to something for that audience that's reading it to take something away from it, which is useful to them. So, okay, I'm
100%.
I'm I'm kind of understanding it now. I'm gonna have to try to
Yeah,
kind
and
of. I might draft a few things up, send them to you first to
yeah,
have a
sure.
little look first.
100%. And a great way to get some inspiration potentially is to look at my posts. I'm a few party on LinkedIn, so you can see all the things I've done. I've got no filter. You can go back for a few months and see all the stuff I put out there so far, right? And that can give you potentially some sources of inspiration or give you an overview of what I'm talking about.
Of course, of course. And then again, going back to the point before I cut you off, now
Yep.
you're at the point where you want to start speaking to people, right? So you've
Yep.
you've done you've done the posts. People have started reading into things. You're
Hmm.
building a bit of traction now. But at the same time, as people may be messaging you, you want to be messaging others that you might have, in the spotlight. So how do you approach that? Because that's quite daunting for a lot of people, right? Because they might be thinking,
Exactly.
well, I don't know this stranger, and he's a I don't know, a chairman of a this, or she's a 20 years experienced implant surgeon, for example, in the world of dentistry. So, how do you
Mhm.
approach that?
Yeah, great statement. The fact that it's quite daunting. I think initially it is always daunting to speak to millionaires or people who are at the top of their profession, right? And ask them these hard hitting questions that you have. So I think the posting really helps with this part of things. Why? Because oftentimes these people have either interacted or seen your posts. And I would also say here that on LinkedIn, especially, there are loads and loads of people that are just silent in the background. They observe your posts, they see them, but they never interact. And
Right.
you don't really know who they are until you interact with them in real life or until you go out and ask them. So, although they might not have liked your posts, they may well have seen it, especially in an industry as small as dentistry. So,
Mm,
how do you go about, converting that interest or that impression into a one-to-one conversation? It comes down to asking. I genuinely think that you can achieve so much by just putting yourself out there and asking the questions or going out and approaching someone. That has yielded to me, at least to me, surprisingly incredible results. Really, I've been able to speak to people that are multi-millionaires, multi-practice owners, clinicians that are at the top of the game, lawyers, accountants, even people in the banking space, right? Just
mhm.
by asking, right? So first of all, it comes down to asking. How do you ask? Well,
Yeah.
I think especially as students, we're quite young, so we can play into, or we can use the fact that we're young to our advantage. For example, we can talk about like how we have aspirations to learn, or we want to view our conversation as a way to improve ourselves as we're so
Yeah.
young. So if you come across as someone who's willing to learn, who has hunger for knowledge and wants to genuinely gain something from the conversation and also provide some value in return, that is the way to go about things. I think even the
Um,
choice of language used, for example, I always in my messages nowadays say, would you be able to accommodate a 20-minute chat? Even
mhm.
that makes it more open. It just uses small language things, makes it harder for someone to say no. Essentially, it's crafted an offer to which nobody can deny you.
Well, I'm with you. I'm with you. And then one of the things is as well that I know that you're very open for people to come and ask you for advice. I mean,
Yep.
I myself have asked you for advice, and I thank you for that. And I
Mhm.
think that people, anybody out there that is listening or watching this, should know that we all need help at some point, somewhere in our lives. We're going to need help,
Yep.
and fortunately, we've got Afif, our guest today, who is very open when it comes to providing help to people because he's been there, he's doing it rather than just done that. And I think you've said in the previous episode as well that you're happy for people to reach out to you, so long as obviously you've got the time to help them, which you in most cases do make up for. And of course, people can through LinkedIn get in touch with a thief. So if that's your first
Yep.
connection to make, what a great person to have in your network. Get in touch
For
with him
sure.
and ask him for advice to how to reach out to people because again, it's scary and sometimes we can maybe hash up our language when we write it down compared to how we speak it. So having somebody who's got that experience, speaking to him and understanding maybe what you should write, maybe send him a draft, see how we can make that a bit better and a bit more of an approachable way to introduce yourself to a complete stranger. And that could set you off on a great journey moving forward with LinkedIn. So I mean, is there any other like tips and tricks that you would suggest when it comes to LinkedIn?
Not really, to be honest. I think you got to make a good profile. You've got to make sure you list all your achievements on there. Don't be shy. People oftentimes don't want to come across as too braggy, but unfortunately on LinkedIn, it's merely a matter of listing out what you've done on your profile and being proud of that, right? You can even talk and mention that in your post or reference to what you've done, because these things are going to set you apart in the eyes of the people reading them,
Of
especially
course.
because you're likely to be, a fellow young person in the space, right? You can definitely get very far by coming across as this younger person who's done some stuff but is willing to learn far more. And that's you, me personally, exceptional success so far. Just to give you an idea of the potential, I've been able to speak to around 200 or so dentists, dental professionals, accountants, and lawyers, people in the dental sector, just from LinkedIn alone. And those
Oh,
conversations have allowed me to get to people I would not have imagined possible. So it just shows you there is hope out there. One thing I would say is that I'm still young, I'm still 18, I'm still learning as well. So I'm mindful of the fact that I'm not a professional, but hopefully, I can be that person one step ahead of you guys to guide you through the entire process and share how I've learned.
okay. And any do's and don'ts for the profile photo? That's a very, very important question.
Yeah, great question. So I think the profile photo has to be very professional and also good quality with nothing bad in the background. People oftentimes post a selfie, or even worse, it posts a picture of them with their mate. Right, that's the worst thing to do because you don't know who's you.
Who's
So
he?
you wanna have a head-on picture of about your head to around your shoulder height, or you're either in a suit or in some formal clothes with a smile. With a smile, do something a bit unique, but also don't make it weird as well. It's a good quality photo to show yourself in the way you want to be seen. Also, with a tagline, you don't want to make it like a 20 list, a long list of things you've done, like X student at this school, or X DFE completer, whatnot. You want it to be succinct and straight to what you want to present yourself as. So, for example, you could say dental student at XYZ, or you could, or for me, because I use it for business purposes, I can say I help dentists write blogs, for example. I help dentists
Uh,
promote the practice with blogs. So you want it to be a one-liner that tells people what you do very easily.
and what about those guys that are a little bit younger, that maybe just doing the GCSEs or the UCAT? They're not
Yep.
really dental students yet, but that's what they're aspiring to be. What's a
Mhm.
good tagline for them, maybe?
Yeah, so a great thing you could say is aspiring dentist, for example, or
Okay.
interested in the dental space, or future dentist, for example. That's what I see quite often, and you can put year 13 student at your school, or that can go a long way as well. One thing I would say though, for students especially, is try to network with other students. Don't try to go straight away for the big dogs per se, right? For the
Oh,
big
right.
industry leaders. A really good way to enhance your communication, sort out setting up meetings and whatnot, is to put yourself out there and speak to students, because it's far less stress, less intensity, and also especially if you're a student yourself, there's lots you can learn from them, from speaking to someone a couple of years older than you before you go to the industry pioneers.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think that's a great piece of advice there. So, anybody out there listening, take that all on board, and hopefully, you can kind of streamline what your profile looks like on LinkedIn. I sure need to update mine. I might just do that straight after this episode. So, yeah, let me get to work on that one. And in terms of kind of the obstacles, the negatives, so not the negative side, so to speak, but the problems or the hurdles that you might face using LinkedIn. Now, I know there's a lot of people online that, as you said, they're just showing off or they're just flexing. A lot of
Hmm.
these people come with big egos and therefore they come across as quite pompous at times, right? So they don't really offer as much help. They might be quite dismissive. And this can be a bit of a pushback for people, right? Especially if you're
Yep.
new to trying to network and all of a sudden the only experiences you're getting is just a bunch of mean people online that think they're better than you. So,
Yep.
how do you deal with that pushback? What are these kind of hurdles and obstacles that one can probably experience on LinkedIn? So they should be aware of. And again, yeah, how do you kind of just get over that and just keep plugging on?
Yeah, sure. Great question. So one thing I would say is that imposter syndrome is massive on LinkedIn, right? Unless you go into the mindset, or unless you go into LinkedIn with the mindset that I want to meet these people and help them grow, and they can help me grow in return, you will unfortunately not approach things with a sound mind, because people, like you say, have listed off their achievements. They seem to be far ahead of you at a similar age. They seem to be done so much compared to you. So going into it with a mindset of learning from these people rather than being jealous. That's
Right.
one thing that many people are victim of, first of all. Secondly, although oftentimes you can get rejected and you don't get responses from these people, one thing I found is that the dental industry as a whole is very, very kind. It's very, very open and very supportive as well. That's actually part of the reason I applied to the industry, because I was able to see firsthand how supportive the entire industry has been to me. So the industry as a whole is very welcoming of youngsters, so that helps. But of course, you are going to get the hate sometimes. People are going to message you out of nowhere and say, "Why are you doing this?" or "What are you doing? What's the point? Chill out." And sometimes it kind of come across as a bit intense for some people as well.
Yeah.
But I think it's finding your own niche, finding what you're good at, and just maximizing that potential. So be aware there are going to be downsides, going to be bad times, of course, but that's part of the process. You live and you learn, and you move forwards. Oftentimes, for example, in the outreach, you can get ignored, you can get left on red, right?
Yeah.
One way to view is it's a volume game, right? If you message 50 people, I'm sure that some of them will reply back to you. You aren't going to get left on red by all 50. So the good people
Exactly.
out there, just finding them.
There you go. There you go. And we met on LinkedIn. So
Indeed, yeah,
and look what we're doing now. So there are some success stories in there as well. Just keep plugging
for
away.
sure,
And
for sure.
just kind of wrap things up now. Is I've mentioned this before. We've obviously touched this on a previous episode. You're quite happy for people to get in touch, obviously, so long as time permits it. How do they get in touch with you, and how can you help them?
Great question. So, as of right now, I don't really charge for any of my services, so I'm happy to offer a free advice and whatnot, because I think the opportunity I've got, the situation, knowledge I've gained, I mean, I'm very privileged to have that. So I want to share that on to the next generation, or the people my age, or people even older than me that want to learn, right? So a great way to get in touch with me is through LinkedIn itself. Funnily enough, I'm a Thief Hadi on there. Or my Instagram is a thief.hadi underscore as well. That can work for some people as well. So primary source of contact is LinkedIn. If not Instagram, I'm sure you can link it down below, and people are more than able to. They're definitely able to get in touch with me there. When I was saying how can I help you, I can definitely look over your drafts, your posts. I'm more than happy to hop on calls. Get to know you, connect over a call, and give you almost a demo of what a networking call looks like to me, and hopefully you can learn from that as well. So whatever time permits, I'm more than happy to help you guys out.
That is amazing stuff. Afif, as always, my friend, it's been a pleasure. And long may this continue. We'll be hopefully doing some more episodes for you guys in the near future. And for those of you that were listening or watching that enjoyed this one, do make sure to like and obviously leave a comment, and do get in touch with Afif as well. He's amazing. He's actually, it was weird how young he is and how much knowledge he's got. So yeah,
Thank you, man.
hopefully we'll be seeing more of that progress in the upcoming episodes and in the near future. So once again, guys, thank you very much for tuning in, and we will hopefully be seeing you on the next ones. Take care. Bye bye.